Good evening, ladies and gents. This is the Elbows Out MotoGP podcast, the British Grand Prix review from Silverstone. Well, not from Silverstone. Technically, it's Tuesday night now, and I've been back a few days. I'm joined, like last week, by Ryan and Keelan. How are you guys?
Good, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, all right. So toes and feet are a bit sore, but from walking like goodness knows how many miles. But yeah, could be worse. We could have not bothered to going at all, right, Keelan?
Oh,
sorry, folks.
Oh,
I'm never going to be allowed to live this down, am I?
Yeah, I'll get bored of it soon. I promise. And folks, Ryan's actually
But
still
not
there.
today.
Or went back. Not today.
I am
No,
still
okay,
there,
that
yeah.
was the first and last of. Ryan's been testing. Well, yeah, testing track day on his Panigale. You've got some DP on, mate. You've been pushing quite hard. I understand.
yeah, it's sore and got a day again tomorrow, so hopefully I can survive that as well.
Good, mate. I am jealous. So I have ridden motorbikes before, but not to that level, and I don't own a Panigale. So yeah. I wish I was still there. Although I did have some funny antics in the campsite. The bed was this thick and the tent was only a bit taller, so I was very close to the ceiling of the tent. Marshals were sort of giggling at me, and racemakers and medical staff. But I managed to get it into the tent, whereas Ryan was a comfy travel lodge. So yeah, enough of that. Let's go straight into the action. What do we make of the Aprilia dominance, Keelan? We'll start with you. We predicted it last week, more or less, that they'd do well. But an outright Raul win like that, surely not.
Yeah, I mean, as you rightly said, we basically predicted that Aprilia would dominate this weekend. Fast-flowing track suits the Aprilia down to the ground. But I really don't know if anybody could have predicted the scale of the dominance. You know, we all knew an Aprilia rider was going to win, and we all took a pretty good stab at which rider it was going to be. But to have so many Aprilias lock out the front row and to get like most of the podiums and to lock out the front 4 or 5, I really didn't see that coming at all. The Aprilia was just perfectly dialed in across both teams. I thought Trackhouse had an absolutely staggeringly good weekend. Credit to them. I think Marco Bezzecchi was damn near heroic, at the risk of overusing the term, managing that injury. To pull out I think it was 2 P3s, if I'm not wrong. I think he got 2 podiums over the weekend.
Yeah, he did,
which is just absolutely superhuman given the injury that he's currently dealing with. And I think Jorge Martin was unbelievable. So all credit to Aprilia. I thought they were absolutely out of this world.
Yeah, you were saying, weren't you, Ryan, that you thought it was going to be a Trackhouse boy show. You said that before, you mentioning the fact of Aprilia. It turned out to be the case on Sunday. It's just a shame that I got screwed and so did Martin on lap 1 of the Grand Prix. Would you both agree that robbed us of the race? Because it would have been a different race, surely. When you look at Saturday and look at the race pace they'd have had, does that sort of give almost the world misinformation of what really would have happened? I mean, that is part of racing, but do you think it would have gone differently?
I don't know if it would have gone differently. I think I being up there would have helped, because obviously he crashed out too. Would they have put a glove on Raul? I don't know. He did the typical way that he wins. He gets out the front and just clears off.
Yeah, true enough.
Jorge Martin looked really strong on the Saturday. When he was closing, in second place, you thought, yeah, he's going to do this. He's got to close the gap. Not even close. I thought at one point Raul was going to burn his tyres up, but he proved us wrong. He just cracked on. So, yeah, did it rob us of a race? Maybe throughout the podium. Do I think Raul was going to get challenged? Probably not. I mean, at one point he was like a second and a lap faster, right?
Yeah, early days it was, yeah. Go on, Keelan.
Yeah, I think I pretty much agree word for word with what Ryan said. Would it have been a closer race? Absolutely, there's every possibility. I don't think the end result would have changed, though, because I just think when Raul Fernandez is on top form, that's the type of race he runs. He gets out in front into the first corner and he never lets it go from there. So it absolutely could have been a closer race. You could say in inverted commas it might have been a better race, but I don't think the end result would have changed. I think Raul Fernandez would have had that one regardless of who was challenging him, because I just think he was that good.
I think it's entirely likely that's the case, for all we know. The way he was able to manage the gap he had after 5 laps was absurd. And by that point, he probably could just coast it and then handle the gap to Martin. People around me in the grandstand at Luffield were a bit shocked at it, but also saying, "Oh, he's getting him." Thinking he is catching him to a degree, but there's not enough time. There just isn't enough time. And so that was that. Speaking of the tyres, guys, Both Lenovo Ducatis, really, really bad weekends. Pecco had a high side coming out of Luffield, well, more or less a high side right in front of us. Marc had an all right weekend considering what Tad Oxley said that the tyres were going to last like 4 laps in the race. In your minds, it's not really clear. Why is Didier able to sort of nurse it more? And Alex Marquez, what is it with the Lenovo boys at Silverstone? I mean, what do we know?
So, sorry to jump straight in there. Pecco's crash was a low side. He lost the front coming out the corner, which I still don't understand how he did it. You just don't generally lose the front
side,
when you're
yeah,
picking
sorry,
the bike up
I said
and accelerating.
no. That's why I said high side. Yeah.
So it's just a ladies and gentlemen at home that maybe didn't see it yet. It was right in front of us, as you said. Like I said, I've never seen someone lose a front picking the bike up and accelerating. It was very odd. Marc, I think, is still injured. I think he's not being truthful with his condition. The reason why I think that is because he was at the medical centre on Thursday, and as far as I'm aware, he wasn't carrying any new injuries, knocks, scrapes, anything like that. He sailed through the Saxon ring right, and like reading some of the articles, his comments after the race, I'm not saying he's alluding to that he's injured, but there's something deeper there. We know Pecco struggled, so I think it was just a 2025 Pecco sort of race. Marc has got something going on, so I don't think we've got a true picture. I mean, last year he was, let's not forget, he was in the lead. He had to send it down the road for Fabio to inherit the lead, and obviously on the restart, he still restarted, but at that point, Fabio dialed it in. But I don't even think Ducati Lenovo know what's going on, personally.
No, I don't think they do either, which is a shame for them because the clock is ticking for the championship. Marc, if he doesn't find something, at least it's Aragon next. I can see him winning in Aragon still because it's Aragon, not necessarily meaning that he's going to be 100% fit. But the Aprilias could do damage limitation there. They could still have P2, P3, P4, P5 for that matter. But yeah, I think it's weird. It is really good enough. Actually, I didn't mean to say high side. Sorry, yes, it was a weird one. But, sitting the bike up and in low side is worrying for Pecco. That. Moving on swiftly, I think I need to mention how the great determination of Marco Bezzecchi, folks, grabbing 2 podiums how battered he is and bruised and sore, in tears after the sprint, I might add. Brilliant ride, heroic rides, because now he's back up to P2 in the standings, and in his mind, he's got another 2.5 weeks now of relaxation and healing. He can be in the right mindset of it's back on for me. Surely that's the case, Keelan. Oh, maybe I'm asking the wrong person.
Yeah,
I think, to be honest, you might. Yeah, listen, I'm outnumbered here on the Marco Bezzecchi belief. Look, I'm going to give him his credit, and I'm not just saying this because I like Marco Bezzecchi. I want to make this abundantly clear to people. I'm not some kind of hater. I still don't see him. I just think it's going to be one step too much for him to win the championship. But I think the performances this weekend were, to go back to that word I used earlier, I think they were genuinely, in MotoGP terms, heroic, what we saw. I think to have not just the physical strength to get through the weekend, but to have the psychological strength to come back, to get 2 podiums at one of the fastest tracks in the calendar, and by extension, one of the most physical tracks in the calendar, to not only finish both races and to get really good points, but to get 2 podiums when you're that beat up, that is championship winning material, to his credit. And I think Marco Bezzecchi deserves all of the credit in the world. I think he was outstanding this past weekend. And if he can keep this consistency and if he can keep his head, then he gives himself a bloody good chance of winning this whole thing. If I'm being honest, do I still think he'll win the championship? I still have my doubts, but I'm incredibly impressed by what I saw. All credit to Marco Bezzecchi. I thought he was brilliant.
Ryan?
Yeah, I can't really say anything more than Keelan said about Bezzecchi's weekend. I think he's got the monkey off his back. Let's face it, Aprilia were going through a pretty rough spell, with Fernandez and Martin coming together. Martin, obviously, having a bit of a bowling ball session at Balaton Park. Bez needed this result, that's for sure, to get his title back on track. I do think he can do it. He's second in the championship, unless Marc goes on a run of form, which we know he can do. And I'm probably going to get shot for saying this. Jorge Martin's not that consistent either. Let's not forget, He only just
That's
won
true.
the other.
That's totally
He
true.
only just won the title against Pecco because Pecco's also been it as much as Martin was. The biggest, as I said, the biggest outside influence I see is Marquez. If he can get a run going, and we know he can, that's when I start getting a bit nervous. And don't get me wrong, I do think Martin can win it. He's proven he can. But if I'm Aprilia, that's who I'm looking at rather than inside my own team. And the Trackhouse boys are included in that. Like, let's not forget, I is third in the championship.
Yeah.
So,
40 points back, I think, or 37 points. Yeah.
It's not all said and done.
No. I think also Martin for me was the biggest points. Martin won the weekend for me in terms of playing it cool. Having a sprint win and a P2, that's really good. He can go into this second summer break, if you will, in the right mindset. I think he could be a weapon. But again, he can easily fall back in that old Martin, as you said, the inconsistency, the crashing again. That could easily happen. It really could.
But he's also found his
I wouldn't bet
speed.
against that happening again. Yeah. No, I'm hoping it's the latter because if Mark can regain something and Jorge can keep his head, we could have a battle on the hands, and then Bez here and there as well. So fingers crossed for that. And Aguirre's thing is he's not out of it yet either. So yeah, quite exciting still. It's just a bit of a shame Sunday was how it was, but that is racing now and again, and you can't blame the circuit for that. Which some people have quite funny on social media, but won't go into that. Because Ryan is going to go soon, folks. We haven't got time for the whole episode with Ryan. Me and Keelan are going to cover a lot more. But before Ryan does go, in your opinion, because you went last year when it was in May, in May, the spring MotoGP at Silverstone. It clashed with the Isle of Man TT. How do you think Silverstone have performed this year? Coming under fire from obviously some grandstand politics, which Silverstone never quite get right, with ushering spectator marshals wrong or not telling them enough information. That is something I saw this year is still a problem for Silverstone. How do you think they performed this year, Ryan?
See, I thought May was still a good show. There's still the same amount on. I don't quite buy into this whole there's more to do. I didn't see anything there this year that wasn't there last year. The date definitely helps. It's warmer. The kids are off. And there were a lot more kids around. I'm sure you'll agree with that. That can never be a bad thing, getting people into MotoGP at an early age.
Important. Yeah.
I still think they need that big blockbuster moment. I don't think the main stage is that great. For me, I don't sit there listening to random people get interviewed. It's great when you've got Sylvain Guintoli, etc. on there and some of the riders auction stuff. I get that. That is cool. That is part of the weekend. But they're missing the off-track stuff during the day. The mini motors were fantastic. Obviously, friend of the podcast, Gary Dale, his son was racing. Really enjoyed watching that. But I think they need something else because I was speaking to a father and son next to me on Sunday. His son was about 11, 12. He said there's nothing for him to do off track. He's not going to go on the little kiddie inflatable stuff, is he? And they were saying, they love the monster show, this, that, and the other. So I get we had BMX and stuff there, but it's not quite. It's a motorcycle event. We want, engines, loud noise, a proper spectacle, a big wow moment. And the monster sort of show did that. You've got motocross bikes, snowmobiles doing backflips. It's just incredible. And the drift cars, the different cars that they brought out, it was just, it's something else. I think they need that. When you see, I think the ticket's still good value for money. But if you put that on as well, it's you've got so much to do. You're probably not going to do it all, but you've got more than the value of the ticket, if that makes sense.
No, it does. Of course it does, yeah. It's important. It's way too important. You can't just... It's only the hardcores that don't mind the lack of that, and the people without kids, which is fairly self-explanatory. But I think I agree massively with the monster thing. That was a really, really important segment for the British GP. Probably even more so after... this is a lot of people thought it was more important to have that after Valentino and Cal retired, right? And to have that other thing to do or to be interested in and to interact with and to enjoy. Losing that, it was a big thing. Obviously, I don't know if Monster just ran out or it was not enough attendance to justify Monster going. But that is something that needed to be added. But the inflatable thing for a 12-year-old, it's not good enough, no.
That's it. There was got to be some more.
mini football pitch, wasn't there, as well? Yeah, but that's not relevant, is it? And the mini motor event, as you say, that's obviously a championship. You can't just turn up and have a go. You can watch it and then this is what you could do, or your family might pay for you to do. But that was entertaining as well. Good addition, and I hope the mini motor Grand Prix or the Fab Racing event happens consistently. It'd be good to have that as a tradition going forward, because that is an invaluable part of exposure for grassroots racing. I thoroughly enjoyed that, and thoroughly enjoyed. It was Gary that gave me a lift down to Silverstone as well. So if you are listening or watching, Gary, thank you again for that. And it was brilliant little hospitality and stories I was told. It was fantastic. So, and people were watching on the hill, weren't there, Ryan? People watching on the hill around Luffield area, looking down on the kart track, watching 5 different classes for this mini motor.
Yeah, and people on top of the kart terrace as well.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and buying their lunch, buying a £15 burger, and watching a mini motor race. No, it was epic. It was brilliant. And by the way, folks, the rookie class was 6 to 9 year olds, I might add, on 40cc mini bikes. Keelan, it was brilliant. Honestly, it has to stay. But anyway, moving on from that, we'll have that conversation.
The last thing I will just add,
Ryan.
In terms of the event overall, I don't think social media is perhaps the way to go. You need to get bikers of all ages involved. So I think maybe promotion needs to be done, something like the TT, by the way, this is happening. This is what happened last year, that kind of thing. Because I don't think getting a few influencers to do a few videos in the paddock is going to get people interested in the sport. Myself, I like the idea of the London event. I think it might be a good idea to, as I've seen other people mention, send a rider to different cities. Maybe do a few burnouts in the middle of the bull ring in Birmingham, for example. So all of a sudden everyone's like, what the hell is that? Yeah. But make it as far as you can get. I know there's obviously the logistics of the riders, the bikes, etc. But if you can really spread the word, it's like that's happening in a couple of weeks' time. Like, don't do it on the week of. Give it a few weeks' time so people can say, oh, can I get tickets to that? Oh, by the way, here's a 20% off code.
Mm.
Get involved with bike clubs.
Yeah.
There's ways to do it.
I just wanted to say really quickly, because as Jim knows, this is the topic I'm very quite passionate about, and I think Ryan's hit the nail on the head with what he said. I think the British Grand Prix as a whole, motorcycling in the UK and Ireland as a whole, needs far better promoted and far better managed. But the British Grand Prix in particular is an incredibly prestigious event, and it needs to be organically promoted to young people, so that we have the 1970s again, the 80s, the 90s, and so on and so forth. But influencers are not the way to do it. Let me make myself abundantly clear on this if I wasn't already. Getting people, and I'm going to give you a very quick example of this. I'm not going to name names or ream anybody out over this. There's a certain actress who acts on a certain formerly popular UK soap drama who was invited last year and this year to Silverstone. I'm not going to name names, but she was invited. She went, she did the standard influencer BS of selfie videos and all this kind of thing, talking about how great it was. And do you know how many times she posted about MotoGP during the year before or after? A big fat 0. Nothing, nada, zilch, nothing, Ryan, 0. And what it speaks to, I don't really, it doesn't bother me that much that they get a free ticket. I don't really care one way or the other. But where I do have the much bigger problem with this is, A, you cannot be inviting people who do not care about MotoGP and giving them the premier experience over people who live and breathe this passion the way we do and people like us do. And B, it's got to be better fed to people. The London event and the London experience was a very good start. I will give Dorna their credit. I thought that was very, very well done. But I think Ryan's expansion idea is the right one. It needs to be taken to different cities in the UK. Birmingham, Leeds, Manchester, all these sorts of different places. If we really want this sport to grow in the right way, we have to put the effort into doing it the right way. This is going to sound quite strange. Send Jorge Martin to Sheffield, Marco Bezzecchi to Leeds. Send these guys to different cities to be ambassadors of the sport. It's like there's another point, we'll get onto this I think later, Jim. MotoGP's having their 2027 season kickoff in Rio, which I think is absolutely brilliant. We need to have more events like that with the riders in places where the sport is not as big as mainland Europe. That's how you grow it. Don't invite influencers who have no passion for this and who have no interest in it. Invite people who care, who really live and breathe the sport. Even people like Channing Tatum, for example, who is a big celebrity but does genuinely love bikes. If you're going to influence, get the right influencers. Don't get these, with respect, nobodies with no passion for what we do. Get the right people, feed it to the right people. That is how this grows, and that is how we revive this whole thing.
Yeah.
Can I just expand on Keelan's point? Because one thing I did notice over some of the posts, there's quite a few popular people that went in terms of social media, and all their posts are tagged as paid partnerships. Oh, you had a great time, MotoGP, blah, 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 but you were paid to be there. You kind of look at it through, do you really want to come back? You know, it's
just sad,
to
isn't
go.
it?
Correct. One thing that I was thinking about was Keelan was talking about expanding it. Why don't you send like the Northwest 200 big attended event, watched on telly, the Isle of Man TT, that kind of thing? Why not do the parade lap? You don't need a Marco Bezzecchi, Marc Marquez, whatever. Get Michele Pirro to take a GP, whatever, around the circuit or through one of the main towns in the Isle of Man. Can you imagine the social media content from that and the clicks, the views? Like, oh my
Love
God,
that.
there's a prototype bike going through the middle of Ramsey, and they can do it. They close the roads.
They could easily
by the
do
way,
that.
because you attended this event, you
can
can have a 20% discount code.
Yeah. Ducati UK.
Or say to people,
sit here, complain about that.
Or
No,
when we're putting these events together, say to people who are going to, say, the Northwest 200, the Isle of Man TT, whatever event it is, British Superbike Championship, all these different places, say to people, thanks for attending and supporting the sport. Here's 50% off video pass. Here's 25% off your local event. Oh, you want to go to this race? Here's another discount. Here's concessions. Let's put our brains together and think about this, because this can be done. All it takes is a little bit of effort. And I love what Ryan's just said there. Have a prototype bike doing a burnout in the middle of, the north coast here in Ireland. Have a bike going through the Isle of Man. Have a bike going through London city centre. Get the imagination going. Yeah. People are going to get invested in this. It's just doing it the right way. That's all we need.
That's a proper way, isn't it? I mean, the thing is, the paid partnerships is what Ryan was saying about that. I haven't seen as many as those than you have by the sounds, but that's an
I'm
easy way out,
isn't it? Because I'm following Keelan's example.
No.
But they're well known.
Name them, Ryan.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, that's an easy way to do it, isn't it? Oh, there's your agent. Oh, okay, there you go. Have some money. They want to come? Yeah, fine. All right, there you go. And then they don't promote it enough.
What do they pay?
So yeah, that's not.
Sorry to jump in again. Jim, I am so sorry. I love you, but I can't let this point from Keelan go. The video pass idea is perfect. The sport's not growing.
That's what I said. I said a second ago. I said that is a great idea. It is good.
Yeah, but if you think about it, the sport's not growing because it's behind a paywall. If you give someone a way of entry that's not a squillion pounds, but I don't know why they've not done or thought of that before, because there's got to be smarter people working in MotoGP than us, right? Or at least me.
Yeah. The thing is with that, TNT would be fuming about that. No, it's fine. Yeah. It's fine. I mean, the thing is, we live in a world of boring rights and all that. And if that happened in the UK or like Birmingham, the Isle of Man, TNT would kick up a stink about that.
50% off TNT for a month, or something like that.
Yeah, you can't do that because they don't have their own specific channel. It has to be TNT Sports as a whole, rugby, football, all the rest of the shit.
But you could do the app,
sadly,
right?
But the app. That could be done with some work, to be honest. The paywall TV is something that bikers have hated since 2014 when BT Sport took over. I know Simon Patterson, he believes the biggest problem in the UK for MotoGP is the TV paywall. But the thing is, you can solely blame it on that, because people pay through the nose to watch Formula One. Even if you don't have, like I wanted to watch the British Grand Prix for Formula One this year. I didn't have any subscription. You could go straight on to Now TV, and I could pay for the Grand Prix weekend on its own. Just that channel, I could pay for that event. I thought it's a good idea. But I don't need to do anything else. But if someone wants you to like a last, you know what I mean? I can pay for an event. I mean, you can't buy the Aragon Grand Prix on TNT. I just want to watch Aragon because you can't do that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's something else that you haven't thought about. Oh, I don't mind losing a tenner. Yeah, to that. I watch all the sessions. Yeah, watch the sprint, watch the race. That's a tenner done. Fine, happy. You can't do that,
but
and that would be easy to do.
The biggest problem as well is that Dorna / Liberty Media, whoever, the problem that they're not realizing is our sport is not relevant or popular enough to be paywalled. It just isn't. Maybe it used to be 10, 20 years ago. MotoGP is nowhere near popular enough in the UK or Ireland to be hidden behind a very, very expensive paywall. It has to be accessible again, at least until it gets to the point that you can consider paywalling it again. People in the US are not going to throw out an extortionate amount of money for Fox or whoever broadcasts just to watch MotoGP, because not enough of them know about it. The Trackhouse team's great. Some of the stuff they do with the US is great. But in the US, Australia, the UK, all these different places, so much more work has to be done before it can be paywalled. F1's a self-feeding economy. It's historically big enough and in modern context big enough to be paywalled. MotoGP does not have that luxury. It has to be almost rebuilt from the ground up for a new generation before it gets to that point, if it ever gets to that point. But we are miles away. And all we're doing is with various different paywalls, like whether it's Video Pass or TNT or Fox or whatever the relevant broadcaster is, all it's doing is self-defeating, because you're paywalling something that nobody wants to watch anyway. It's got to be popular enough first. It makes no sense.
No,
I can't disagree.
No.
And it hurts me to say that.
Well, yeah, it's the truth, though. It is the truth. And there's such a list, a book of reasons, things that Dorna Liberty could be doing. I'm sure they are looking into it. But before we go any further into that, we've got a few more bits to talk about. But I know for a fact we do have to say goodbye to Ryan, because he's going to a dinner involved with his track day. So, Ryan, thank you for joining. And I hope the DP is working from the Panigale.
My pleasure, gents. I'll speak to you very soon.
Right, see you later, mate.
Thanks for joining. We'll speak to you soon, mate. Bye. So, yeah, really good, Ryan, to join us in between.
And then there were two.
Track action. And then there were two. And his dinner. Can't really argue again, Keelan. You're on form tonight. Other things I was thinking of, being at Silverstone. I mean, Silverstone is a track I can go on to. I wanted to talk more about that. The spectator marshalling, I'll get onto a sec. But the promotion of the British Grand Prix itself, they did do more than normal. Going into the heart of London was cool. And they had done that for a while. And I had Cal there as well. Cal had an all right weekend. He did better than I thought. Yes, okay, he might have binned it, but that's aside for now. Cal was never going to put another 15,000, 20,000 people through the gate, was he?
No.
People know he's there to stand in for Zarco. You can't rely on Cal to do it for you. You can't rely on Scott Ogden to do it for you, or Eddie O'Shea, because a lot of people just don't care enough about what they look at as feeder classes. Well, they are Grand Prix classes, but to many people, they're just feeder classes. So you can't rely on the riders, because you don't have a superstar on a factory bike and from the UK. You can't rely on that. But your promotion is what you're left with. And there's many circuits that don't have. I mean, look at Sachsenring. You get 95,000 on race day, or maybe 100,000, 101,000, was it? At Sachsenring. They don't have a German rider for winning. It's just not even close. It's just because it's, again, like Le Mans, it's well promoted. It's more of a festival sort of. Silverstone try and make a festival event out of it with having music every night, which is fine. It's just not promoted as well. It's just plain and simple. There's what you've said and what Ryan's been saying, and you need to go and do more physical things, not just social media. And the bikes, like having a Grand Prix prototype going through London or Birmingham is brilliant, because we saw how effective it was having the actual prototypes in Malaysia at the start of the year, not just superbikes with MotoGP liveries on. They actually had the Grand Prix prototypes there, and it was phenomenal. And yeah, more physical promotion it must be spent on, whether it's something Liberty pay for or Silverstone pay for. It'll be the promoter. It needs to be done, because you can't have 43,000 on a race day at a Grand Prix. It's borderline embarrassing. The weird thing is, Ryan's gone now, but everyone there was saying it feels way busier than normal. It's really strange, Keelan. Everyone was saying this is busier. This is busy. This is busier than it's. But it hasn't been this busy since 2021 when Rossi had his last race when it was 60,000. But the fact is, there was only 3,000 more than last year. I think what it could be is because everyone's around Luffield and Woodcote, around the main motor track, and around the start and finish Albion Club. Whereas I didn't walk around the Hannah Strait area or Beckett's and Maggots as much, but it was very quiet there. So I think it's because everyone's huddled around each other, which is a shame because it's actually perfect for motorcycle racing. It's just, I think a lot of people have it in their head that it's crap and won't go because in their head they remember the good old days when they were younger and Donington was the one. And they paid less. They had 0 campsite rules, a bit like Le Mans in a way, as Dave Neal said. He said Donington was an amazing campsite. So I think a lot of people, for lack of a better word, a bit stubborn to go and try Silverstone. But what really worried me, Keelan, was there was this really annoyed me actually. There's a Facebook group that's very popular for British MotoGP goers. Right, the event, the British Grand Prix viewers, not Silverstone, and thousands of people are in it. And the admin has been had to delete many posts, because there's people coming in literally telling others not to go to Silverstone because it needs to go back to Donington. And these people have been going around their friends, in public and other race meetings and whatnot. Oh, don't bother with it. Don't bother with it. And that isn't good. You can't stop word of mouth. It's just people's opinions. But it's the stubbornness of some people that are living in the past that you can't avoid. And that's really, really annoying. And the guy who was really going to town was removed from the group. And the admin there really lost his patience with him and said that, you can't be going, you shouldn't be going around telling people not to go to an event just because you don't like the circuit. And that's the thing. The circuit has very good facilities and grandstands at every corner. That's what's annoying. Everything's there. It's just no one's going. And people like that are not helping. Go and try something for the first time, folks. If you haven't been to a MotoGP and you still didn't go this year, you live in the UK, just do it. Yeah. Anyway, away from that, the promotion needs work. But Keelan, I don't know if I sent you the video. Silverstone spectator marshals or the organisation, that needs some work. Why? Because Luffield grandstand was opened at the last minute on Saturday for the sprint. For the morning, sorry, for qualifying. Now, this was supposed to be a closed grandstand. Silverstone only opened half the grandstand because it's not enough people there. But because you have a grandstand that's mainly full and then an empty, you'll see on TV, I'm guessing, Keelan, you see the empty stands, right? You see plenty of empty stands, yeah? They're not empty, they're just closed. They do not open them. So that makes people think it's empty and then it looks like it's crap. But they close it because there's not enough people coming in. So they opened Luffield because it was busier than they thought. But then they had a massive cotton sheet barrier separating half the stand so it could remain closed, so they could keep it one person staffing it, and the other half we were all ushered into like sheep into the other half of the grandstands. And then more people kept coming in, and they thought, okay, we'll get rid of this cotton sheet separating now. Then we'll open more of it, and then eventually they opened the whole stand. It's like, Silverstone, you are not helping yourself here. You've already got a lot of the British fans not liking the track for whatever reason. They're just like, oh God. And I'm sat there thinking, oh, guys, just open the stands. All you need is one person at the gate letting everyone in. It's just making it difficult for the sake of just a member of staff needing to be on the gate. It was ridiculous. People were like laughing and like, guys, come on, get a grip here. This is a general admission stand. Just open the whole thing. So that sort of thing needs work. If anyone went and experienced it in another stand, let us know. That needs work. Sorry for the rant there, Keelan, but if you were there with me, you'd have been like, you'd have found it funny. It wasn't aggravating because we had a good spot anyway, honestly. But other people were being turned away and looking to the right, and you could see about 5,000 seats. Like, what are you doing? Just let them sit there. Anyway, away from those antics. It's ridiculous, mate. I actually messaged Sam Patterson about it, and he says, Jim, I wish I could say I'm surprised, but I'm not.
Just disappointed.
Yeah. But away from that, they had additions, or I should say additions, comebacks that we haven't seen in ages. When I say comebacks, I mean commentary that isn't just poached from television. So in the last 5 years, we've had TNT/BT Sport commentary used as circuit commentary, which doesn't really work because on TV you can see more things and it's relevant to what the commentary is. Whereas obviously listening to a radio or a circuit commentary, the commentary is different for obvious reasons. It's more, well, not baby English, but they're telling you something you can't see, if that makes sense. So Silverstone got back circuit commentators, but they weren't pronouncing much. Well, Keelan, when I say pronouncing riders' names really badly and misinformation here and there, It was. I'm pretty sure it was 2 car racing commentators that had done 2 weeks homework with MotoGP. Yes. So, folks, a friend of the podcast and someone who goes to quite a few races a year. She's quite popular on Instagram and she is obsessed with MotoGP. And she was messaging some of the pronunciations for, what these commentators were saying. So here's a little clip Jade sent us.
There was a lot of misinformation and mispronunciation by the professional commentators this year at the Silverstone Grand Prix. Starting off strong, the Premier Class World Champions, we had Jorge Martin, Francesco Bagnaia, Juan Mir and Fabio Quartararo. We also cannot forget the rookie Diego Moreira. We also had Fabio Di Gianantonio and Paul Espargaro. In the lower classes, we had Aaron Canet, Max Killes, Mario Agui, Dennis Achu, Barry Boltas, Philippe Salich, Philippe Salax, Danny Munez, Danny Munoz, and I'm sure there was many, many more. And then in terms of misinformation, we had the level-headed, cool, calm and collected Jorge Martin. We also want to cast our view back to Marc Marquez's absolutely massive crash in Thailand 2026. We also had Marc Marquez go from P10 to P9 as Franco Morbidelli crossed him on the line at the sprint race. When actually Marc Marquez went from P8 to P9 and Franco Morbidelli overtook him at least 2 laps before the end. Scott Redding also made an appearance. He supposedly won race 1 of the Harley-Davidson Baggers World Cup held at Silverstone. Last but not least, a special shout out to the Martin brothers, who are very famous for competing against one another in MotoGP.
And that is accurate, Keelan. I can tell you now that is accurate because I was with Ryan at the time when I heard, actually this was the other commentator, Diego Moreira and Fabio Quartararo. Oh, what are you doing?
Oh, man.
What are you doing?
Dennis Achu.
Yeah, not good. They knew about racing ethic and all that and how tyres were. They knew all of that. It's just pronunciations and not really knowing the current season and how to pronounce riders' names, which is bad enough as it is. They were entertaining enough. They weren't getting excited when moves happened, really. Fair play to Silverstone for giving it a whirl, trying their own commentary again, but get some actual bike fans and enthusiasts and experts in. Because they, to me, were car people. They sounded like the F1 commentators. Not that I've been to the F1 since 2013, but yeah. Maybe have a work on that, Silverstone. I might have to tag them in now. I'm sure they got some messages. But yeah, thank you for that, Judy Flack.
I was at Misano back in 2024 for the World Superbike round, as you know. And the Italian circuit commentators did a better job of pronouncing riders' names in their second language than these guys did in their first. That is pathetic. That is so bad.
Just a bit. Moving on from that, because I don't want to bore people with the commentary pronunciations. The Brits. We actually, I purposely didn't mention Cal last week because every time he was hyped up before any of the British Grand Prix, he hurt himself. Not every British Grand Prix, but a lot of them. And obviously he was standing in. But it was nice to see Carl not doing too badly and for a few laps. He looked like he might get into Q2. And he was beating, he out-qualified 4 permanent full-time MotoGP, well, 3 and then Paul as well. So well done to Carl for that. Jeremy binned it in the sprint and then obviously in front of us at Brooklands going just before Luffield. He crashed as well. So fair play to Cal for trying. He was trying. He looked like he was trying harder than the other races, but he did crash twice. So in theory, you think he would be pushing harder at his home Grand Prix. You can't have to blame him for trying harder than normal. I love how Cal said it. He said for a few laps, I did feel like it was. I felt like I was that age ago. I thought that was really cool, but it was almost moving for me because after some sessions and on the warm up lap and on the sighting lap before forming the grid, when he went past, he thought, I'm going to use this now. I won't get this opportunity again. So he slowed down. It wasn't even a slow down lap. It was like an out lap towards the grid, and he just slowed down really slow and started waving at the fans, and everyone stood up and cheered for Carl. It was great. It was like old times. It was like 2013, 14, 15 again. A really nice touch from Carl. I'm sure he got a massive kick out of that as well. Now we've got Scott Ogden getting pole. And what did you make of that? Because that is big shame. That was a horrible crash coming out the last corner, Keelan, in the race. Obviously, Max Keeler's crashed there as well, breaking his collarbone.
Yeah, listen, as a qualifying, it literally does not get any better than that. It was brilliant for Scott Ogden and great to see him on pole, obviously at his home Grand Prix. It's a shame the race didn't go anywhere near as well as it should have. As you said, he high-sided out of the race and he was getting kind of swallowed up in the pack before that. So definitely a disappointing one, but he'll take the positives from that, and I really do hope he does, because he's a great young rider, Scott Ogden. You don't need us to tell you how good he is. He's a very, very good young talent. And then just sort of an Ireland watch from my point of view. Gutted for Casey O'Gorman, obviously. Had a brilliant qualifying and was at P5 at one point, I think on Friday. Like, was really, really getting to grips with things. And then qualifying was just a mess. It just never really went anywhere. Ended up with a long lap penalty, which just sucked to see. But yeah, a bit like Scott Ogden. Hopefully he'll take the positives from it and he'll be back.
Yeah, Scott. Yeah, I'm hoping he will as well. Because that was a damn good lap. And he earned
Very
that.
good lap.
Yeah, nice touch. Nice touch with the helmet as well. It was a really nice touch with the helmet as well for British Heart Foundation. And I know Scott did that off his own back as well. So it's a shame he didn't finish the race. And Eddie didn't do too badly though. Eddie O'Shea with a P8, that gorgeous livery of the Union Jack with the yellow backplate for the number 8, the very 80s, very, very classy. And what a guy as well, giving me just 8 minutes he did in lap hospitality on the Thursday. Really, really professional. And obviously that's on the podcast, folks. If you're on Spotify and scroll down, you'll see it. The last episode we had was with him. Thanks to MLav for letting me do it. He in his mind's in the right space now, because now he's constantly aiming for top 10s at least. He's constantly looking at P5s now. I think the qualifying let Eddie down, sadly, and that is what I mentioned. I asked him on Thursday how important is it going to be. And he did say, yeah, Q2 obviously, but at the same time, like, you can make him time up. But the thing is, that group had separated itself too far from the second group that Eddie was part of. So, which is a shame. But it's still, look, P8, good result. Top 10 at his home race. And if you told him that last year, he'd have taken it. So, yeah, fair play to Eddie O'Shea, I think. Wrapping up, really, Keelan. It's these news pieces that have only come out today, really. In your opinion, what track would you replace Qatar with this year? Because obviously, with what's going on in that part of the world, and that track, you can't go there. I know they're still looking at the situation, which I think is wrong. Just pull the plug now and replace it. What track would you pick, mate?
Easy. Phillip Island. Next question.
So we're gonna have a double header at Phillip Island. Nice. Yeah. Okay. What do we think of a rider?
Well, I'm asking you.
I didn't actually have an answer. That's why I skipped it. Maybe you'd have a second race in Portugal. You could maybe do Estoril. I think that's still fine.
That's a good shout. I like that double header in Portugal.
Yeah, 2 different tracks. At that time of year, as Espeleta was saying, Carlos Espeleta, it's a time of year it's hard to find the space, and then what's currently homologated. So yeah, Estoril would be good. I think there's still enough runoff there for Grand Prix bikes, but we'll have to see. Folks, yes, I understand there will be a number of tracks I've forgotten there, and I'll probably go, yeah, you're right, that would be a good idea. But it probably has to be Europe, I would say, just from a logistic point of view. What do we think of a rider transfer window that actually I thought was just a rumour ages ago that's actually gaining traction? And I say it's gaining traction because usually what motorsport.com report on, Keelan, is quite accurate these days.
Yeah, I don't actually think it's a terrible idea. And I'll tell you why, because a lot of people have lost their minds over this thought. I do think if it was done the right way, an actual certified transfer window with a beginning point and an end point, I think it would bring quite a lot of order to the championship, and it would bring a lot more sort of tidiness and, maybe a bit more sort of housekeeping, perhaps, is the right way to describe it. But my problem with it is that a rider transfer window wouldn't fix the problems that Dorna thinks it would. And what I mean by that is Dorna thinks that a rider transfer window would end the chaos and the rumours and all this different kind of thing. Having a fixed rider window would only increase the rumours and the chaos and the talking of managers and riders and all this different kind of thing. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to condense gossiping and rumours. And when you try to shut down gossip and rumours and limit it, all it does is expand and get bigger than it was before. So, in principle, I don't have that much of a problem with it, but if you think it's going to fix the problems that you think it does, you're pretty badly mistaken, because it's not going to stop rumours and gossip. It'll probably only increase it.
I agree on that. But what I do think, it might be, in some regards, it might be more fair for riders that are shining in, say, Moto2, for example, and they can't now get to MotoGP because everyone's signed up for the next year and too early. So if the transfer window was a thing, in my opinion, it would be September at earliest, or late August or September. There's your transfer window, or maybe a 2-month one, because Manu Gonzalez would probably get a ride then.
Yeah,
In theory,
very
he
possibly.
would. Yeah, potentially. If Brad Binder got P8 on the weekends, that probably wouldn't be enough. That's probably a bad example, actually. People like David Alonso would be in trouble. If it depends how serious they would take. It depends how serious these teams would take the transfer window. What would be to stop them just having his pre-agreement months before?
Well,
like, don't worry about the transfer window. That's for the public. We want you, and that's going to happen. What's to stop that sort of thing happening? Can you ever police
it's
that?
the same. It's the exact same problem that football has, and football fans will understand what I'm talking about. In football, it's illegal for one club to tap up a player that plays for another club. But if you think players and people that play for another team aren't talking, and players and staff from another club aren't talking on social media or texting or calling, you're crazy. People are always talking to each other and they're always communicating with each other, and it's not going to stop. It's only going to keep going. So it's not going to stop that problem from occurring.
No, that's exactly what I thought. So yeah, it might eliminate some things, but and it could help people like Manu. Hopefully, someone can help Manu to count laps, but I don't think that was all his fault, was it? In the Moto2 race, that could have been a bad accident, actually, folks. I'm glad that he didn't come off when Holgado passed him on the start of the last lap. But that was a damn good race, and I'm massively happy for Philip Salac, because he doesn't matter what happened, he deserved that win, and it's been. Especially considering he basically lost his job, and Mark Vidias hired 2 of the riders, and Dixon left. And then obviously, yes, okay, Ramirez lost out on his contract, but Salac needed to stay in the sport. Obviously, Bruno's interest, and he's been really fast this year. And Salac is now a race winner. Mega happy for him. And what a race that was, Caleb. And yeah, I think that was the race of the day, honestly. Moto3 was good as always, but Moto2 was mega.
Oh, it was without a shadow of a doubt race of the day, and one of the best Moto2 races I've ever seen. It was incredible from the very beginning to the very end.
Yeah, I was there. I was there for it. Every move I was there for. I don't think it was any naughty moves or anything like that. It was just perfect. Again, we've had a lot of them in Moto2 this year. Sometimes Moto2, some years can be kind of dull, but this year's one of the best.
Oh, for sure it is.
What do we think of Rio hosting the 2027 season start? Right, you mentioned it earlier on. Sounds good. Party event, carnival sort of event. Everyone's going to assume. How relevant is it to MotoGP as we speak? They've got a race now, so there's that. Are you all for this, or do you think it should have been somewhere else? Considering we're launching a brand new era in MotoGP.
Yeah, I couldn't be more for it. I think it's absolutely the perfect place to have it. Not only is Brazil an incredible country, not only is Rio an incredible party place, but, we've got Diogo Moreira in the Premier class now, so we have a rider that we can sell it on. Historically, we've had Alex Barros and other riders from that part of the world, so there is a fan base there. And South America as a whole, I mean, there's an enormous amount that's an entire market that can be scooped up from MotoGP new fans brought in, all that good stuff. So I think it's a brilliant decision. I have to say, I really am all for it. The launches in sort of the Far East make a lot of sense for sure because of the volume of people and the amount of people who ride motorcycles and stuff. But having it somewhere new every year, really love the sound of that. I think it's a brilliant idea. And I actually think, feeding off the topic we were talking about with Ryan earlier, if you did it, say, in Rio in 2027 and London in 2028, and then you did it in, I don't know, pick a city anywhere in 2029, if you made it like a traveling band every single year for the championship being launched, I think that's the perfect way to scoop up lots of new fans. So I love the sound of it. In fact, if I can make it work, I might even try and go to it. I think it would be brilliant.
You're racking up some travel soon, aren't you?
Yeah,
Phillip
well,
Islands, and then obviously Rio in February.
Elbows out from Copacabana. Who says no?
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, no, fine. I'll get a t-shirt printed for you. Happy days. No, that would be mega, absolutely mega. And I'm up. I think it's good. Thailand's great. I think Thailand's more relevant for the two-wheeled world, but there's plenty of bike fans in Brazil, and probably more than in the UK. But a London one for 28, that's an interesting idea. And by that point, you've had a whole year of hopefully some UK growth. But yeah, back to Silverstone. Before we wrap up, I actually think it's a great event, folks. If you're in Arin and you've been told not to bother, just go, because there's plenty of comfortable campsites. By the way, pick the Woodlands campsite because that's the most entertainment, most facilities. This year I was with Marshalls, which is great, peaceful, very helpful people, and then that's another conversation. Go to the Woodlands campsite or just pick well in advance a hotel because obviously self-explanatory, you're going to pay through the nose if you leave it too late. But make yourself comfortable in a campsite and just go because it's a good showing. You'll be able to obviously cook your own meals in the evening, but like any Grand Prix event or football event, whatever, it's going to be expensive at the track for your drinks and your food, but it's great. It's really, really, really good. Plenty of places to sit. The general admission roving grandstands are everywhere. And Silverstone do make it up a bit as they go along, where you can sit. In terms of expanding where you can sit, which isn't a bad problem, but other than that, there's plenty of opportunities to go to the paddock on the Thursday. You can pay for £80 for your pit lane walk through Two Wheels for Life. So definitely do that. And then obviously, there's the stage with music every night on site. James Toseland was performing on the Saturday. But generally, the terraces, there's plenty of hills and stands to walk into and listen to the loudest bikes in the world, the fastest bikes, and all the best riders in the world on your doorstep. I got 2 trains to get back to York. If you can drive, it's fast. And I made it really difficult for myself this year. But support your home Grand Prix if you're British, or if wherever you come from, try and support your home Grand Prix because I think it's quite important. If you're a massive petrol head, if you can make it work, just do it. Don't let anyone else tell you not to do it because it used to be better back in their day, because that's not fair. Find out for yourself what Silverstone's like. And that's more or less it for this week. We will be uploading some different videos this week. Keelan doesn't know about this. I've done some MotoGP and Moto3 and Moto2 ambient sounds from trackside, from a distance at the track, and some flybys. If you're the type of folks that like to listen to engines going past for 5 minutes at a certain point while you're doing some washing up or something or cooking, something really niche I thought of, and I'll be uploading them on YouTube and Spotify this week. So look out for those sort of things if you like Grand Prix engines roaring for 5 minutes and a pit lane one as well. So look out for that this week, folks. And Keelan, thanks for joining on a Tuesday night as always.
My pleasure as always. Is this some ASMR thing that I was unaware of? What's going on here?
I have no idea what you're talking about, honestly, unless there's something up on the screen that I can't see. Absolutely no idea what he's talking about. I guess I'll find out, folks. Right, thanks for tuning in, and hopefully you enjoyed this. Give us a follow or a nice rating if you enjoy it, and like listening to what you see. Yeah. Right, folks. Good night. Bye-bye.
It's nothing we haven't said to each other.
Right. On that note, folks, I'm calling it a night. We'll see you next week.